Imagine building one of the world's most iconic luxury car brands, only to lose it, then rebuild it, lose it again, and somehow survive for more than a century. This isn't just the story of a car company. It's the story of a brand that refused to die. This is the unbelievable history of Aston Martin. Today, Aston Martin is known for building some of the most beautiful sports cars in the world. It's a symbol of British luxury, a favorite of celebrities, and of course, the car James Bond. But behind that glamorous image lies a story most people have never heard. A story filled with wars, bankruptcies, financial disasters, and unbelievable comebacks. There were several moments when Aston Martin came dangerously close to disappearing forever. So how did it survive? To answer that, we need to go back to London in 1913. Two friends, Lionel Martin and Robert Bamford, started a small company called Bamford & Martin. At first, they weren't building cars at all. They simply sold and repaired vehicles made by other manufacturers. But Lionel Martin had a bigger dream. He wanted to build his own sports car. After competing in the famous Aston Hill Climb race, he decided it was finally time. The company's new name combined the location of that race, Aston, with Martin's own surname. And just like that, Aston Martin was born. In 1915, the company's first prototype was finally completed. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't revolutionary, but it represented the beginning of something extraordinary. Unfortunately, its timing couldn't have been worse. Before production could truly begin, World War I broke out. Martin joined the Royal Navy. Bamford enlisted in the British Army. The factory closed. Its equipment was sold, and Aston Martin's dream came to an abrupt stop. Most companies wouldn't survive something like that, but Aston Martin wasn't ready to disappear. Not yet. After the war ended, the company started over from almost nothing. A wealthy racing driver named Count Louis Zborowski invested in the business, giving Aston Martin a second chance. The company entered international racing events and quickly began attracting attention. It even competed in the French Grand Prix and set several impressive speed records. For the first time, success seemed within reach. Then disaster struck. Again. In 1924, Aston Martin went bankrupt. A year later, it happened again. The factory shut down, and Lionel Martin, the man whose name was on every car, left the company forever. Imagine creating a brand, only to watch it continue without you. It could have ended there, but somehow, it didn't. Throughout the 1930s, Aston Martin changed owners several times. Each new investor believed they could finally save the struggling company. Instead of focusing only on racing, Aston Martin began producing road cars for everyday customers. The strategy seemed to work. Production slowly increased. The company's future finally looked promising. Then history repeated itself. World War II. Once again, car production stopped. Instead of building sports cars, Aston Martin switched to manufacturing aircraft components for the war effort. By the end of the war, the company was exhausted, low on money, and once again, fighting for survival. Then came the man who would change Aston Martin forever. His name was David Brown. In 1947, Brown bought the struggling company. Unlike previous owners, he wasn't interested in making quick money. He had a vision. He wanted Aston Martin to become one of Britain's greatest sports car manufacturers. His impact was so significant that every major Aston Martin model carried his initials. That's why the legendary cars are called DB2, DB4, DB5, and even today's DB12. The letters DB stand for one man, David Brown. Under his leadership, Aston Martin finally began building cars that could compete with the very best. The DB2 achieved impressive success at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Then came the DB4, a beautiful grand tour that proved Aston Martin had truly arrived. For the first time in decades, everything seemed to be going right. Sales were growing, the brand was respected, and the future looked brighter than ever. But Aston Martin's biggest breakthrough wouldn't happen on a racetrack. It would happen on the silver screen. In 1964, the Aston Martin DB5 appeared in the James Bond film Goldfinger, driven by Sean Connery. The impact was enormous. The DB5 wasn't just another movie car. With its machine guns, ejector seat, and hidden gadgets, it instantly became one of the most recognizable cars in cinema history. Almost overnight, Aston Martin transformed from a respected British carmaker into a global icon. Even today, when people think of James Bond, they think of Aston Martin. For the company, it was priceless publicity. Sales grew, its reputation soared, and it finally looked like Aston Martin had escaped its troubled past. Unfortunately, history wasn't finished with them yet. In the early 1970s, the world was hit by the oil crisis. Fuel prices skyrocketed, and suddenly people weren't interested in buying powerful luxury sports cars anymore. At the same time, stricter safety and emissions regulations made building cars even more expensive. For Aston Martin, it was another disaster. David Brown, the man who had saved the company decades earlier, made the painful decision to sell it in 1972. Soon after, Aston Martin found itself changing owners once again. Production fell to almost nothing. In 1975, the company built only 21 cars. 21. Many people believed Aston Martin had finally reached the end of the road. But somehow, it survived. Again. Throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, new investors kept the company alive by focusing on hand-built grand touring cars like the V8 Vantage and the elegant Volante. The company wasn't making huge profits, but it refused to disappear. Then, in the late 1980s, everything changed. Ford Motor Company stepped in. Unlike previous owners, Ford had something Aston Martin had always lacked: money, technology, and long-term stability. For the first time in decades, Aston Martin could stop worrying about survival and start thinking about the future. Ford invested heavily in the company, modernizing its factories and improving quality. Then came one of the most important cars in Aston Martin's history, the DB7. It became the brand's best-selling model ever at the time and introduced Aston Martin to a whole new generation of buyers. Soon after came cars like the Vanquish and DB9, proving that Aston Martin could once again compete with the world's greatest luxury sports car manufacturers. Hollywood also returned. The Vanquish appeared in another James Bond film, while later the DBS continued Aston Martin's long relationship with the famous spy. The legend was stronger than ever. In 2007, Ford sold Aston Martin to a group of investors. Many feared history would repeat itself. After all, this company had already survived countless ownership changes. But this time, Aston Martin continued moving forward. It introduced incredible cars like the limited production 177, one of the most powerful naturally aspirated production cars ever built. Later, it partnered with Mercedes-AMG, gaining access to world-class engines and modern technology. The company even returned to Formula One, bringing one of Britain's most legendary automotive brands back to the highest level of motorsport. When you look back at Aston Martin's history, the most remarkable part isn't the cars. It's the determination. This is a company that survived 2 world wars, multiple bankruptcies, financial disasters, ownership changes, and decades of uncertainty. Many companies would have disappeared after the first crisis. Aston Martin survived them all. Maybe that's why people admire this brand so much. Not just because it builds beautiful cars, or because James Bond drove one, but because every Aston Martin represents something much bigger. The story of a company that simply refused to die.